Hi, welcome back to West Coast Geeks. I'm your host, Joaquin. How we doing, people? Today's video is discussing your background of an adventure, whether it's a module or the latest, fifth or sixth edition campaign book, or even just your homebrew. How important is the background and the history of the area that you're adventuring in matter? In most cases, it don't. I mean, most player characters don't really get that much involved, and in some cases, don't really even care. They just want to go into a dungeon or go do this or go into the city and just explore, adventure, and kill monsters. But in the A series against the slave lords, the background and the surrounding areas do matter because I'm currently running this campaign for my group. We finished the cult against the reptile cult, and they were here in the Grand Marsh, and they made their way to Safeton because they heard about rumors that Safeton was looking for people to infiltrate the Pomjor and to spy on the slave lords. So the party's been tasked to um, travel down to Eldred and meet up with a contact there. But more important, I know I can't even see that. There we go. And more important is they're going to be um, taking the names of ships that they see docked there, right? Because from the Woolly Bay, that goes all the way up to Lake Nivar. I always mispronounce that, or Lake of the Unknown. But the rivers travel up to Greyhawk, okay? So a lot of boats will come up here to Harby, and then, they'll use river boats to transport cargo. And so the slave lords, Safeton and Greyhawk and Harby, want to know what ships are doing business with them. Well, that's the hook I use to get them into the slave lords. Um, the surrounding areas are important to develop because it gives the player characters an opportunity to um, explore and then realize that they just can't go in there and just kill all the bad guys. It's pretty much almost impossible. It'd be like a group of commandos landing in California and expecting to kill everybody. I don't care if there's like 10, 15, 20. Um, the odds are it's not going to happen. Now now don't get me wrong, they can infiltrate and do a lot of damage, but they're not going to be able to kill everybody. And don't leave in the context about exploding nuclear power plants, because there's no nuclear power plants in D&D. But I wanted to make this video because if you're going to be running the slave lords, I think it's important that you do develop the surrounding areas. It's not just we're going to be going to Highport and freeing the slaves. There should be subtle hints to other campaigns that are going on or other bad guys. Just know that if once they defeat the slave lords, other people are just going to rise and take their place. What was cool about the slave pits of the Undercity is these were tournament modules, and then they expanded on that, and they came up with the Scourge of the Slave Lords, and then in, I want to say 2000, after 2000 sometime, I don't know which came first, whether it was Against the Slave Lords, which is just a reprint of the A series, but they included a another module to kind of like kickstart first level characters. the danger at Dark Shelf Quarry. And if you wanted to like run this as a campaign, then you can start your players there. The Scourge of the Slave Lords took a different route where they assumed after the village of Hamlet, or God, I can't Hamlet? Yeah, the village of Hamlet T1, that they would get a message that a noble wants to rescue her brother, and I'll go into that if you would like me to do a review on the Scourge of the Slave Lords. And then the last publication are the Slavers. And the Slavers gives you a kind of like the return to the Slave Lords, where the aftermath of their defeat, but once again, they're on the rise again. But what all four of these adventures hold is, well, actually three: the Slavers, the Scourge, and against the Slave Lords. They all hold interesting tidbits of the backgrounds of the surrounding areas. So the Slavers give a more detailed of Elred, Highport, and the surrounding areas, where the Scourge, I think, does a really good job, besides reprinting the module, is going into, if the player characters are captured, what's life like on a slave boat, and gives them opportunities to escape. Also, they gave you the surrounding areas, which were really brutal, because we're talking about tribes of anywhere between 3 to 500 of like orcs and gnolls and goblins and hobgoblins, and where it's you're not going to have enough fireballs to kill them all, and eventually they're going to the tribes in the area are going to overrun you. We just started this adventure, and they're on their way to Elred to meet their first contact, and they also have another contact to meet in Highport. And to a quick little story on that is they're camping, and instead of orcs, because that's what's mostly in the Slave Lords, I have replaced them with bugbears, because I'm playing the 6th edition, or D&D 2024, whatever you want to call it, but I'm going to prefer to call it 6th edition. In D&D Beyond, there's no orcs, and I'm kind of back and forth whether I want to buy the old monster manual, which I think I'm going to do because of some of the monsters and characters in their descriptions, or the NPCs I want to use. So, the encounter was, they met these 5 bugbear scouts while they were sleeping. So they wake up the party, and they're about to ambush them. In the book, it states that these scouts are leading an army back to Highport, because they had just finished raiding up near Safeton. And so I let them roll perception checks, and as long as they rolled a 15 or higher, they could hear off in the drum beats of the marching because these are bugbears, are somewhat organized, and they're marching. And there's like a little drum, a couple of drums. And so they hear the noise of this rabble from far off in the distance, which gives them enough time to, do we really want to attack these 5 bugbears? And sure enough, they hide, and they watch this army of bugbears go by. And I describe that they're even carrying like, crude built trebuchets, and a couple of ballistas. But the real goal of that was to show them that you're not going to be able to fight every group of monsters that you encounter in here. So the good news is, they had just played the Cult of the Reptile God, and because they were first level, it was the same thing. They had to pick and choose their battles. That's what the Slave Lords is. picking and choosing your battles. So with that, people, I hope you enjoyed this short video. Hope you guys are having a good weekend. Leave any comments. I would love to hear from you guys if you want me to go in depth on either the slavers or my opinions on the scourge of the slave lords, or what I thought about against the slave lord, or if you just want to look what's inside the book, I can also do that too, do short little videos on that. So with that, people, catch you later, and thanks for stopping by.